Hey everybody, welcome. Happy Sunday. And it's wonderful to see you at Aquarius Rising Africa again. And great to have you back with us, Caleb. How are you doing? And welcome back.
I'm here.
I'm glad that you're here. And we're celebrating that you're here and that you actually, as we know, it was your birthday the other day, on Thursday, in fact. Yeah. So I hope you had a fantastic day. And I want to just say, and I know I wrote something on your Facebook page, but I just want to say as well, we so appreciate you for everything you do and everything you bring to this channel and to each and every one of you who listens to Caleb's story. And I just see your birthday as another milestone of celebration and of victory. So I just want to say to you, thank you so much, and you are very much appreciated. Yay. So thank you. And I'm just looking at, and I'm sure you can see the comments as well. Everyone wishing you a beautiful birthday. So, but before we go any further, do you want to maybe just open for us in prayer, please?
Hold on just a second here. Heavenly Father, I thank you for today. I thank you for peace and love and joy. Thank you for knowledge. That you protect us, keep us safe. And just thank you for being there. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So, yeah, guys, well, what we're going to be doing is looking at the last of the 9 magics in Caleb's series, Understanding the Arcane. And if any of you haven't watched the previous ones yet, please do. And equally as important is to watch the Arbitel of Magic as well, that I think was five different shows we did that on. So, you know, in all of these types of shows, Caleb, you just give us such immense knowledge how these things work. It's kind of the nuts and bolts that makes the arcane, the dark brethren operate. Yeah. So I think it's so important that if you guys haven't watched that yet, please do. Educate ourselves. You know, that's how we educate ourselves, for sure. And that's why I say again, it's such a blessing to have you sharing this with us. And again, we know what it takes out of you, sometimes worse than others. So we just appreciate you being here. So tonight we're going to be talking about intonation. But hang on, I want to just check quickly. There was actually a question before we go into that I saw earlier. Simona actually had an interesting question, because I know we've been talking about the movie Nefarious the last couple of shows as well. And again, I'm going to say, if you guys haven't seen that movie, maybe do yourself a favor and see it. And again, it's for educational purposes, because, wow, when I saw it, it was like, this ain't no fiction, that's for sure. Question: what happens if instead of giving a series of yes to the demon, you turn him down repeatedly? Does that mean you doxed condemnation? Interesting question. What's your thoughts on that?
Means you said no.
Right. So you have to say no. They can't enter you without And in the situation of that particular guy who was taken over from a very young age, 7 or 8 years old, by this nefarious entity that was pretty much using his body. How would you, as an adult, because really as a child, I think, and I understand because that it happened through the Ouija board, that entity entered through playing the Ouija board, which his parents started allowing them to play. But then at the age of 8 took his body and obviously never let it go until the bitter end. But how would one in a, let's say, and I'm sure there must be many people like that out there, maybe our viewers even know some people like that, I don't know. But how does one get rid of the entity that is taking over? Like, in other words, the nefarious. How would that guy in prison, how would he be able to get rid of nefarious if he was already from the age of...
You have to be told the truth. You have to experience some kind of deliverance.
Right. So it would definitely be through deliverance, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Crazy. Okay, I think that was
You have to know the truth first, though.
And accept the truth, I guess, right? Take responsibility and say, wow, yeah, that's actually true.
It's not taking responsibility, it's just accepting a free gift.
Right.
Really simple, but you have to tell people about it first.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so tonight we're talking about intonation, which is the 9th of the magics in the Arcane. So maybe you want to just give us an explanation, like a broad cover explanation as to what intonation is.
Give you the broadest cover explanation. Intonation isn't just the 9th magic, it's part of the 9th magic. The 9th magic itself is music. I picked intonation because without intonation, you don't make music.
Wow. So intonation would really be the bridge, if you will, or the seed of what creates the expression of music.
Think of the word intonation. You always hear people say, let's set the mood, let's set the tone for the show, for the day, or for the night, or for the date, or for the whatever. You set the tone by intonating.
So let's say you're getting ready for a date, for example, and you're cooking dinner. You would light candles maybe and have some nice smelling food on the stove and set a nice table and maybe have a fire going.
Okay, so think of what you just did. It's all part of the ritual of the date.
Yeah.
But to intonate your intention and your purpose, you have to say something out loud.
Right.
Or sing it, or play music with it. Intonation goes much deeper than that.
Okay, so let's say
it's part of it.
So let's say you're setting the tone, whether it's a date or whether it's for workshops or courses you're running or whatever. And let's say you're playing music while you're doing that. not knowing that you spellcasting, basically. So are you saying that adds to it?
It does. Every word you say, you're going to be held to account at some point. Ignorant or not.
Right. Okay, so that would be part of intonation, is creating an ambiance, creating a space with a certain type of energy, a certain type of feeling. Would that be correct, what I'm saying?
In a sense, yes.
Okay. So there would be one way of intonating, so to speak. What would be some other ways? Because the way I would see that, other ways would also be things like, I mean, I remember we were talking some time ago, where we were talking about these chimeras that they make, and then these things mimic a human call or a baby call, the sound of a baby crying or something. So intonation would also be mimicking a voice. Would that not be true?
That's a part of it, yes.
So to do that, and let's say if you're trying to lure someone to you,
well, let's get back to intonation here. I don't want to go too far off the path. Before I get done saying what I want to say, magicians and musicians are very, very similar. There's not a lot of difference. The difference is the ritual. Even then, some of the rituals are not that different. Kind of walks hand in hand with each other. And that's why I said intonation can be setting the mood. That's not all it is, though. You have to know something about music and how that works, too. Music is such a broad brush. I don't want to say that if I say music is magic, everyone's going to think, oh, he's saying it's evil. We can't even have music now. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's part of it. Can be part of it. Think of who your enemy is and what he was all about. He's a chief musician of heaven before he fell. So, of course, that's part of what he does. Think about that.
Yeah. Makes one also realize when you're looking at Hollywood, or pretty much the majority of the entertainment industry worldwide, I would imagine, not just Hollywood, I mean everywhere. Music is such a big part of it, right?
It's a huge part.
Wow.
They perform mass ceremonies with music.
Wow. Very amazing. So the ceremonies, the music, the ambiance.
Part of the spellcasting ritual.
Yeah, so it's an entire ritual that's put together of different pieces of a puzzle. So each one fits in with the other one in order for a certain thing to take place. Is that right?
Well, let's break it down even more simple. Think of a guitar. So you mentioned a guitar. When you have a properly intonated guitar, it's tuned correctly. It sounds correct in the modality that you pick. Music is a very complicated subject. When you get into it, you suddenly notice that there's a lot to do with mathematics and music. Creation and destruction. It's called cognition or dissonance. Cognition is like a recognition. Distance is like a destructive force. Or you can tell when somebody's out of whack, somebody's off key. I'm trying to explain it simple so that you can understand. It took me 15 years to learn music theory, so it's not something you learn overnight.
Wow, no, that makes perfect sense. And also why music is such an important part of the Arcane, not just in the entertainment industry, but I mean, you look at all the different types of music that exist in our human experience, from all the rock, pop, whatever it is, those types of more commercial musics, to the opera, to the, you know, the all of the musics that are not very mainstream. There's so many different decibels of sound across the spectrum. It's massive, right? And when we also look at so many kids that are taken into the system, call it that, how all of them that I know have had to have some type of musical gift or some type of voice, a singing voice, right? What do you say about that?
Let's go back a few hundred years. Back when the minuet was the thing to do in the courts of kings. Very regimented form of music, very well refined by the time it came into the court. Suddenly somebody introduced a waltz. That was like having Slayer come to a Enya concert. It was controversial. It changed the tone. It made people have sex. It made people get married. Think of how far it's changed from then to now. That's just one tiny example.
And part of that experience, when you're looking at it from also a commercial perspective, along with that, music that evokes the sexual desires, if you will, but along with that, before that would be the alcohol and drugs, right? That go along with that create that sexual experience much easier.
Hey, so step back even further from that, even realize what you just said. All the magics that you've been learning so far are in practice with some music. All of them. They all work hand in hand.
Yes.
Let me say this loud and clear. I am not saying music is bad or evil. What I am saying intention is. Depends on what your intention is, how you use it.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you. Wow. Sure. So what then would be again, you know, let's also just backtrack a little bit from the music and something just maybe to understand intonations a little bit better as well. I mean, when we look at, for example, in the movies, you'll see if someone's, you know, if there's a pedo of sorts trying to lure a child, they get a certain look in their eye and they get a certain tone in their voice, you know. Very often you will hear when people are obviously trying to kidnap a child, they will mimic the mother or the father's voice. So, and a lot of we've spoken about in the past, you know, when we're looking at necromancy, right? And very often people will think, oh, that's my brother or my sister or my aunt or whatever that's speaking to me. Meanwhile, it really is just a entity that is emulated that shape, that form, that sound of that voice, the intonation of that person's voice to perfection. So would stuff like that be part of this type of magic as well?
Well, it's not this part of magic. I just got done telling you, they all work together
Yeah.
in the different colors, even. And it's not regimented to stick to one color or another. It all boils down to your intention and what you're going to do with that magic.
Well, maybe we can talk about the colors, because the four main colors, or the four colors, not the four main colors.
I really don't want to go too far off track with this because it's easy to get lost.
Okay, well then we can do that maybe afterwards or later.
Okay,
and again,
I'm not going to sing this, but I'll make a noise. Let's see if the chat recognizes the music, if I say it correctly. Bow chicka wow wow. What does that make you think of? Everybody's heard it at one point in their lives.
absolutely, definitely heard it. Imitating music.
Born.
Sex.
It set intention and it set a tone. I didn't even sing it. Cheap 1970s porn.
Wow. Okay, got that. How do you guys all know this stuff? Because that was so not what I understood.
In America, that's how it's been for years.
Right.
That's the association with that sound. You say bow chicka wow wow, people think porn immediately. That set a tone.
Right.
The intention wasn't to say porn, but that's the tone that's been set. That's the spell that's been cast, and it's a powerful one.
And I would imagine that's why I say it's not just necessarily, I mean, as we've gone on in years, you know, we look at how many kids are taking drugs and how freely available drugs are, as well as alcohol, you know, as well as, I mean, I always say it's actually alcohol and cigarettes that are the gateway drugs, you know. So just hearing that sound would then kind of activate all of that, because along with the sex or the porn comes alcohol and drugs, that type of thing. Would you not say that then heightens the need to disconnect? Because that's really what you're doing in those moments. You're disconnecting.
You're saying yes by proxy.
Right. And you can't say yes when you're in a space of connectedness. There's no ways you can say yes to that.
Driving. You can drive drunk and get caught. You can say, well, I didn't know. I was drunk at the time. It's not an excuse. You still said yes at some point.
Right. And again, talk us through, just while we're talking about things like that, how does one release oneself from that when you've maybe moved on a few years and you're a little bit wiser now?
You have to say no at some point. You have to hear the truth.
Yeah.
You have to come to the end of yourself. So back to intonation. I'm a guitarist. I've played guitar for 25 years. I prefer the bass, a long scale bass, specifically a 5-string or a 6-string. And if it's not properly intonated, it will sound like crap, it won't tune right, it won't play right. I learned how to do that myself. Become my own guitar tech. There's a lot to it. I can't tell you everything about it, but there's a lot to it. And if you have to spend the time to make sure you have a correctly intonated instrument, you're definitely a professional musician. You know what you're doing. Same thing with magic. You can just randomly do things, and people often do by playing music with intention. To be sad, or to be happy, to be angry, whatever. But I'm talking real magic. Like what the big stage names do. They do that intentionally to hurt people, to capture people, to make them do stuff, to do this, to perform a ritual, whatever. So think about that for a minute.
So music is used for setting the tone as well. I guess it's kind of a symbiotic relationship, that intonation with music. Yeah. As you say, just that certain sounds of music would then activate, I guess, certain energies, if you will, or certain memories, which then
magnifies or demagnifies resonance.
Right.
Can alter the chemicals in your body. You can melt stone with it. You can levitate things with it. Lots of things you can do with sound.
Wow.
Again, it's ancient technology that you're tapping into.
Yeah. But I mean, if we think about the fact that pretty much the world, the universe is created from sound, frequency, and vibration, sound would be such a powerful modality. Sound is such a powerful modality. And you can absolutely, and as you say, Lucifer was the angel of music and sound, basically, and knew exactly how to use it. So now in its negative polarity, which is obviously what they're using it here, it's such a powerful way of drawing people in, right? One way or the other. Yeah.
Right. Like the quote unquote great Benny Hinn, I mean that respectfully, used a certain tone in his concerts that he called prayer meetings to sucker people into feeling emotional so they'd give money.
Right. And I think also with the intonation, it's how we speak, right? It's also like on how we place emphasis on which words. I mean, you can have a sentence and you can place emphasis on certain words that draw your attention to certain things or something like that, right, within the sentence. So depending, I mean, I think someone who's very clever, and especially when you're looking at these seducers, I mean, they're very clever with their words. They're very slick. They're very schmoozy. So, you know, they can draw a person in, or children in like that, right?
Right. Oh, Hitler uses a technique where he would start really calm and quiet, and then we'd get a little bit louder, a little bit more intense, and it'd get even louder. Pretty soon he's yelling and shouting and screaming at the top of his voice, making his point. He's the intonation. not as a frequency, but at a volume of frequency.
Right.
There's a lot to this. There's a whole lot to this.
So the purpose of intonation, would it be to evoke emotion, feelings in people?
If you look at it real simply, yes. You can't be so linear. You have to see the big picture of the whole thing. It can be used to affect or influence anything. It points back to Logos, the language of heaven. So the universe was created using intonation.
Can you explain a little bit about that?
I cannot. It would be
Another
interesting
day.
close.
Right. I mean, I just thought, intonation, sound, intonation are obviously quite closely related. So they'd be like brothers and sisters or first cousins, that type of thing. Yeah, Dottie, I got squeaked without getting squeaked. So, yes. But yeah, so it really is, I agree. And it makes sense what you're saying. So you start something softly and you build it up and you build it up until eventually you're kind of shouting, and especially if you have already. Sorry?
One way.
Yeah, sure. But then you look at someone like Hitler, for example, who had brilliant oration skills. I mean, he could turn the
Just gave
crowd.
an example of.
Yeah. So I was going to say that's actually what got me to think about it, by the way. So that would be intonation as well.
Yes.
Right. So that's how it would be used, like, let's say, in the military operations and stuff like that. But obviously, with kids in a grade 1 class, you would use different intonations again, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Maybe through fairy tales, stories.
It's one way. Like I said, you have to see the bigger picture with all this stuff. I know it took forever to get to this point, but quite frankly, I am sick and tired of talking about magic right now. But it's important to say and to tell people what that's all about. Most people have no idea. They're completely ignorant and blind to it.
Yeah, it's true. Human beings have definitely been blinded and therefore become ignorant. It's been a deliberate trap for humanity. So naturally, I think a lot of people are unaware. And it's good that people are waking up so we can start seeing and understanding, which is why we have these shows, right? But yeah, and it's really important because that's why I say in the voice, the intonation, there's some voices that are quite hypnotic, really, and again, same thing with music, whether it's you listening to someone screaming on the stage, or you can have, mantras repeating themselves, choruses in songs. I think it's really important to know and understand these things.
If you know what you are in this universe, just a ghost driving a meat-covered skeleton, intimate part of this universe. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Your whole body's full of crystals that resonate and vibrate. So it doesn't do good to say crystals are evil, because you have to say that you yourself are evil. So I never say that. Look at the crystals in your smile called apatite. They're made of to help you resonate what you need to say. You learn spelling at an early age. Think about that word for a minute. Spelling.
Yep, spelling indeed. What about, again, this could be intonation, but like things like punctuation, which also changes in many, many instances, the intention of the sentence or whatever, right? So punctuation.
It's like the notes on a musical scale tells you what to change and how to change it.
Right.
Tells you how fast or how slow to talk. Yes. How loud or how soft to talk. Same concept.
Yes. And some people's voices are more calming while others are more agitating, right? Because that would be coming from their frequency. And if someone's agitated and angry, they'll often receive that in interactions with other people, right?
Emojis are modern hieroglyphs.
Yeah.
Same concept.
I want to just check here. Someone actually just put a message in there, which I wanted to. Sorry, I don't see it now. Oh, right, Kelly, there it is. That which is very interesting. Like Astroworld, they used intonation and sound frequency to induce rage and agitate the crowds. What's your take on that?
Spell casting, a ritual performed, and people who were saying yes to it without even knowing they're saying yes. I wouldn't even watch that stuff if I were you.
Let's talk about these video games as well, where there's a lot of violence in the video games. And like, let's say kids have got earphones or goggles or whatever it is that they're using nowadays, and stuck to a screen, shooting and killing and blood flying and body parts flying, that sort of thing. Would that be part of intonation as well, in the same way that music or the notes or the tones of music can be used to agitate, aggravate, or calm down and elicit beauty as well, right? So with this constant violent images and shouting, in these video games, and these sounds of people dying and what have you, is that the same or similar? It's not the same. Is that similar to the way they would use the music?
Yeah, we can stop saying intonation so much because it's part of music as a whole.
Right.
I just put that title so that people wouldn't think it's evil or whatever. But yes, you'd be correct.
Tanya's asking you, can you touch on spelling as a school subject? How is that connected? What's your thoughts on that?
Learn how to connect your words into something written form, whatever language you know. It's not spell casting per se, but it's pretty much how you learn spell casting.
Right. Almost
Reading
like
used to be a forbidden art. Everybody knew how to read. That was the people who stay ignorant. If you can't read what's on the wall, how do you know there's something there? That's what I'm getting at. Loud enough? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you guys in the chat? Can you hear us, Caleb? Just just let us know if there's a issue with sound. Also, actually made an interesting comment here, which makes a lot of sense. It's almost like the binaural beats opening up the psyche. Because binaural beats, I don't know, I think they're pretty good in terms of stuff like that. But I guess they're used for both sides, right? Or either way, rather. And it's like part of these music or those anything music sounds, as you say, that whatever the sound was you made earlier, that remind people of porn. Right, so it's like trigger responses. Would that be right?
That'd be right.
So the program,
you have to see the whole picture. You can't just focus on one little thing.
Yeah,
it all works together.
Makes a lot of sense as well, because what they're talking about, what for me then, it's, as I was saying earlier, it's like a whole bunch of pieces of the puzzle that fit together. A bit of that, a little bit there, a little bit here, whatever, and that for me then it makes more and more sense to understand why it's so important to be a master. If you're good at this stuff, you have to know each of these arts, not just one or two. And I think a lot of what you're saying, more of the lower level witches, if you want to call it that, will maybe know one or two, or the trinkets and trinkets magic, right?
Right. I'm going to do this. I'm calling it arts.
Squeak. I can't believe you actually did that. That's so cheeky. Interesting, yeah, Colleen, what you're saying. Bush Jr. was in a classroom full of kids doing their spelling when the planes were hitting the World Trade Center, and the kids were unknowingly spell casting for the ritual to go with the attack. Have you seen that piece of video?
I saw that.
Yeah, and they're
talking about. I can't say what they were doing, so I can't say that's what was happening.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I actually posted that on my Facebook a while ago, and I actually saw it a few days ago. They were talking about exactly what was going on. Would you say that is spellcasting, though?
I can't say what they were doing.
Yeah. I would say that would make
Not because
sense.
I don't want to. It's just because I wasn't there.
Sure. Yeah, you're right, Tammy. He didn't look shocked when they got the news. Duke technically a squeaker is an accordion. Oh my goodness. They told me the planet that was, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. That was very contrived, that whole situation. Okay, so I'm wondering if
So I always say, I don't do anything without intention behind it. Everything is intentional. Everything I do. Yeah. So I've been mysterious and explaining all this to you and tying it together for a reason, so that I wasn't teaching you how to do anything. And I also wanted you guys to figure out for yourselves some of the pathways that they use, and they take this by seeing something. And then it's not me putting it into your head, something you've seen yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. I like what you say. It's not something that someone put in your head. It's something you've seen and experienced for yourself. And then you make your own decisions. And that's really what it's about. That's how you practice discernment.
Exactly. That's what it's called, is discernment.
Yeah.
Not everything is fast. I'm not McDonald's. I'm not going to feed you a burger in 5 minutes.
That's a true story. So I want to just check, is there anyone else who has any questions around this in the meantime? Let me just see.
We could talk about this for hours and hours. There's a lot to it. How it all ties together.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you can see, as far as surrounds you, how it works. Once you know a few of the key parts of it, you have an aha moment. You have a dun dun dun. See, it just created a tone with that. That's a eureka tone.
I think that's the same, or one of the similar things you're talking about. Yeah, these tones that trigger us. Same in these gambling houses, wouldn't you say? I mean, that's why they have these ding, 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 the sound of people hitting the jackpot all the time, right?
Correct.
And gets people to gamble more because it inspires people to want to hit that jackpot, right?
I grew up with Rocky and Bullwinkle, so that's where I get the dun 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 sound from.
Right.
The evil genius hit on a good plan, the sound would go dun dun dun. He'd crack his knuckles and cackle. Like that. That's my eureka sound.
Yeah, it's dopamine sounds. Absolutely. Very important. Some of it is good and others not so good. It can trigger a whole lot of PTSD in us as well.
Right.
So, yeah, either way, we're going to use it for the positive or the negative. But it's really just interesting to see how that's all done.
Here's from the Saturday morning cartoons of my childhood. It's Hassan Pfeffer. Hassan Pfeffer. Remember that with Bugs Bunny? Peppered Rabbit.
No, I never heard that actually. Grandma, yeah, was past that stage. Wow. Sorry, my light.
The network tones. The more you know. With the ding.
Yeah. Sorry, my light is just playing silly buggers here. I want to just sort that out quickly. Okay, so yeah. And I hear you when you say that there's like a whole lot of layers here that we can carry on, more and more sort of going into these things over time. But yeah, and that's why I say I would imagine this one to be super important as well, because of.
We'll talk about it again along with all the rest of them as we look at or examine things and kind of pick them apart.
Yeah, we look into that. Sure. Okay. Well, I think I don't have any more questions around that. I pretty much I think I pretty much asked you things that I had in mind for that. I don't know, is there anything else still from your side that you wanted to touch on regarding that?
For birthdays.
Yeah. Birthdays. So let's talk about birthdays. And I know, again, lots of people who've obviously been through traumatized childhoods, abuse, maybe adopted, stuff like that. Birthdays are not a great time for many people.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Birthdays are not a great time for a lot of people coming out of those situations. So, yeah, and I know you guys know Caleb's birthday was on Thursday, and he generally battles around the time of his birthday. But what I find quite amazing, is that he's even talking about it. Just tells me how much healing has been happening with him since he's been on the show. It's actually quite incredible. And I want to just say while we're on that topic, thank you to those of you who've gifted him on his birthday. Really appreciate that. And if there's anyone of you still want to gift him with greatest pleasure, you can do so to my PayPal account, which is in the link, chantellemeyburgh@gmail.com. Somebody actually asked for my email address earlier on, so I'm just going to give it to you. Chantelle Meyburgh, spelled like my name in the chat, all one word, all smalls, @gmail.com. So you're welcome to message me there. And I have had a few email problems. Lynn, thank you. I saw your message now. I have had a few email problems this last couple of weeks as well. It's been a crazy time, actually. So, yeah. So, yeah, if there's anyone then who maybe wants to join us on, talking about how you feel about your birthday, I think birthdays are amazing. I think they need to be
Mine would be bad for a lot of reasons. A lot of deaths around my birthday. Never celebrated because of my brother, my twin brother. He died and I lived. Lots of friends dying. One of my best friends was murdered on the 26th of June. My adopted mother died on the 19th. My adopted father died a year later on the 17th. Not a good association for me, so I generally don't celebrate. But I am willing to talk about it if you guys want.
Yeah, I think it's a great topic to talk about, and it's not an easy topic to talk about for many. That's why we're saying, and so I so appreciate you talking about it, because I don't know if I think you did hear me what I was saying just a year ago. Never in a million years would have thought you'd be talking about this. But yeah, definitely, I think just that association with your brother in the womb who was aborted. For those of you who don't know, Caleb's mom was pregnant and she had a late term abortion. Natural mother. and she thought that there was only one baby, or thought that it was done, but obviously it wasn't. So Caleb lived on. Here he is. How old are you? Do you want to tell us, or not really?
Too old.
Okay. Well,
2 birth certificates. One says I'm 51, one says I'm 50. So.
Yeah, same year, same date, same year. Sorry, same date, but a year apart. So that's how they worked it with him. They've given you 2 birth certificates. So, you know, in my opinion, that's also part of creating the confusion, right? Is part of not knowing who you are, because that's part of how the Cabal actually gets in there to traumatize children. Does it get better for you? How was it this year?
Close to sewing, or doing sewing. I was born in June. Think about that. Tell me that wasn't intentional. Who out there knows what June is? What pagan holiday?
The summer solstice. And it's the twins.
By minutes. I was born at 12:54 a.m. It would have been the other way around.
Gemini. So, how I've actually known you for 2 birthdays now. I knew you last year and this year. So how was your birthday?
Another day.
Well, I really hope that everybody who's experienced trauma around their birthdays, I don't know, whatever God has in store for you to see the joy in your birthday, I hope you find it. Because I think it's a beautiful day to celebrate. And I don't like the idea that the creatures of the night have robbed you of your joy. Because it's a joyful day that you came to Earth. And we're looking at where we're at right now, just in terms of, I mean, who else is giving us information that you're giving us, for starters? We all celebrate you. So wouldn't have been able to do that if you weren't around, right? Are you there, Caleb, or did you slowly sneak out?
I'm here.
Yeah. Interesting questions. Are birthday cakes related to sacrifices? Do you know about that?
Never really had one, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway. Okay, let's see. We're on an hour now anyway. I want to just see if there's maybe one last question.
Let's keep going. It's 20 more minutes.
Yeah. What else can you... Well, what according to you know, do a lot of the birthday rituals entail? Can you share with us anything around that? Do you know anything around that?
Well, a ritual can be anything you want it to be, so boils down to intention.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, someone's saying here, I saw some video about a birthday celebration being witchcraft rituals. That's why they light the candles and stuff and they sing that song. What is your take on that?
And intention.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's so important also not to see everything as bad or evil or negative. You know, again, you must remember that these guys can never create. They only emulate or steal or invert. So what they do is probably, if you turn it around, it's probably pretty good. Always turn it around, in my opinion. So what would you say? I mean, you know, when people are battling with their birthdays, do you have any advice? What's your take on that?
Well, it just personally, I just try to get through it. Try to get through it. Not sure how much advice I could give.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I really wish for each and every one of you out there battling with your birthdays that you take back the joy of what the true intention.
It's easy to say that that's going to happen for you, but to actually do it is much more difficult.
I totally
Most of
get
the time,
that.
I suffered in silence and I didn't tell anybody why I was feeling. So I'd say if you're able to, you should probably talk. And for people who are trying to help somebody through that, don't force them. You just make them shut down. Pray for them if you want. Don't force them. If you try to force me, I will shut off in a quick heartbeat. I don't trust psychology or psychiatry, so I don't trust Jerry Merzinski at all. Not because he's bad, just because I don't trust him in general. The Mason energy thing.
Yeah, I think each person has got to find what works for them, you know. People are so different. Different strokes for different folks. Yeah.
Going back to intuition briefly, one of the things that I used to do a lot during that birthday time of year was self-defeat. So I'd say, I hate this, I hate myself. I'd be negative, I'd have negative intention and negative words. Mostly unconsciously saying that stuff. So I have to make sure I don't talk that way on my birthday. It's really easy for me to do. What I've been suffering with is a depression. It's easy to get into it, and it lasts for months. I'm in the thick of it right now, right in the middle of it. That's why you haven't seen me a lot, because it's hard to deal with on my own. Hard to express. to people who don't understand what I've been through. One thing to say that you do understand, I'm going to contend that you really don't. Who here has been in combat once, one time, just once? Show of hands or yes. I've been in combat for more than 20 years, not just once. I've seen a lot of death, a lot of dying, a lot of violence, a lot of fear. I'm suffering right now, even I don't know if you can hear it. A really bad tremor. And it's come on just in the past 5 years. It's gotten worse and worse. Nothing wrong with my brain. I was examined. I was imaged. No epilepsy, no tumor, no family history. It's all because of PTSD. Delayed reaction. And it's super hard to explain to people if you don't see me going through it. I have a hard time dressing. I have a hard time eating. I enjoy chips and dip. I used to love it all the time. So I bought some. It took me a full day to figure out how to get that jar open. Whereas back in the day, I could easily open a jar of that, no problem. It took me a full day to figure it out. I have to have a pair of scissors to open anything. Anything. I don't care how flimsy the plastic, I have to have scissors to do it for me now. Because of that tremor. It saps my strength, it causes me all kinds of problems, so any kind of stress makes it worse, a whole lot worse. So to do these shows, I think it's just part of that attack. It's part of it. It affects my speech. I sound like I'm slurring my words all the time because I'm clenching my teeth so that I don't have my teeth clip while I'm trying to talk to you. So you can't hear in my voice my tremor.
Well, I know that you have a hard time, and I know that we so appreciate you for what you bring us. And I know as well, I want to just again say thank you to our viewers and to our listeners, our usual suspects in our Arrow little family, yeah, that I know you sharing with our people as well is very healing for you, as it is for us as well. So I want to just say thank you to each and every one of you who tune in, who listen, who believe, you know. I think, as we know by now, biggest issue with a lot of the survivors is that for many years they've tried to disclose these horrors and no one believed them. And in fact, if anything, they were persecuted more after trying to blow the whistle.
I'm just psychiatrist.
Yeah.
I became a psychologist to find out why they thought that way.
Yeah. Anyway, Caleb, thank you. And thank you to the chat fam. What's today? Sunday. Gosh, yeah. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow with Bryce, and Jesse's back this week. She's just had a family emergency that she had to deal with, so we haven't seen her. And thank you so much for joining us for this really interesting series, Understanding the Arcane. If you guys haven't seen the previous 8 shows on this, then I highly recommend that you do some binge watching. Caleb, do you want to say anything, or maybe just end off for us in prayer?
I just want to thank you guys for the birthday wishes. It's not a happy day for me, but I appreciate anything that you've given. I do appreciate. It helps me to live small, so learn to live that way. I really appreciate every dime that you guys have given for me. It comes from God through your guys' hearts, and that's a beautiful thing. You're given to a poor guy. And I'm not saying it to be miserable. I'm just saying that's how it's been for me.
Wow.
There's a lot to learn about this stuff still, and we'll keep going. I'm not going to quit. Not going to quit. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for today. I thank you for lessons learned. I thank you for strength. I thank you for mercy. I ask that you make plain and obvious that your Son's sacrifice is what gets us to this point in life. Without Jesus doing what he did, we wouldn't be here. And for them who haven't made that choice, I ask that you convince them to make the choice. The ones that have made the choice, help them grow up, be strong, keep them protected, keep them safe. Thank you for food on the table. Thank you for conveyance. Thank you for helping me with my license. Everything. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Caleb, thank you so much. I really appreciate your the show that we've done tonight, and I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. So thank you, everybody, and I shall see you tomorrow with Bryce, and Caleb will see you back on Thursday again. God bless everybody, and we shall see you very soon. Joy vibes.